إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. ضرور شریف پڑھ لیجیے گا. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد رسول الله خاتم النبيين صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون. هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. صدق الله مولانا العظيم. I would like to thank Qadir, you for arranging this interactive session. I would like to appreciate you. In a very young age, you and your organization, Youth Association, is doing good for Pakistan. You're basically doing the job, which is basically the job of the state actors. At the same time, I would like to appreciate Khalid Saab for giving us this opportunity to gather here, and he always supports you. He's basically one of those people who believes in the spirit of Pakistan, the theology of Pakistan, and always support these things. So he's not here, but I would like to appreciate him. And a real appreciation is something which is done behind the back of a person. And if you want to criticize somebody, do it in front of that person. Never criticize somebody behind his back. Najabit Saab, आपको यहाँ इस्लामाबाद में दोबारा अस्सलाम वालेकुम कहते हैं. Same time, Wahid Sharif Saab, future spirit, mashallah. And of course, Mujahid Gilani, who is a Mujahid. And mashallah, today I've seen some new aspects of his personality, full of vigor, and he was reinventing the atmosphere of Srinagar here, which mashallah he did very correctly, because in our minds, in our spirits, we don't feel ourselves to be separated from Mahbouba Kashmir, that is Indian-held, Indian-occupied Kashmir. Before going forward, I would like you to listen to some very, very important things which I have ever heard in my life. Besides learning the voice of my mother for the first time, which I don't remember, which most of you won't remember either, because when we heard those voices of our mother, we were very young in the life of our mother, so we don't remember them. For the first time, when you hear azan in your ears, you don't remember that because you are an infant at that time. Yes, some voices are very, very important. For example, for the first time, when you hear the voice of your children, I mean, I have 2 kids, so when you hear them for the first time saying Baba, that is very, very nice to hear that. Sometimes when you hear some other voices, they're also very important, but this is one of the most important audios which I have ever heard. I would like you to hear this because many of you would have heard this already. But there is something which is called a memory, collective memory. We should revive that all the time, because individually we always focus on our lives. We try to do good to ourselves, to our family. Everybody has a dream, has an aspiration, but those nations which are alive, they have dreams which they see collectively. There was a dream which we saw 73, which we saw 73 years ago, in the form of formation of Pakistan in 1947. Basically, that dream was something which was constructing the mind of the founder of the nation, but even before him, the intellectual founder of the nation, that is Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah. And when somebody, I think Khalid Rahman was talking about the histories of different nations, though our history is very young, which is 73-year-old, but this I say it, and you please focus on this, that the history of Pakistan is the most longest of all the countries in the world. The reason is that our history, when we say that Pakistan ka matlab kya, La ilaha illallah, so the message of La ilaha illallah starts from Adam and ends at Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So any country which is the torch bearer and the flag bearer of this kalma, it has that history. It connects itself to that history. So we are connected to Jesus Christ, that is Isa alayhi salam. We are connected to Musa alayhi salam. We are connected to Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, Ismail alayhi salam, Ishaq alayhi salam, and of course to Adam alayhi salam. Why? Because we are the torch bearers, the flag bearers, the carriers of that message. The message is the same, it has not changed. Only the seal of finality has been put upon it in the form of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But the message is the same. It started from Adam alayhi salam and was repeated again and again with updation. As you get books, and you always read the final edition, but you never forget the first. So the message is the same. We have to connect ourselves to our history and why Pakistan was being made, which is called Pehchan Pakistan. So why else go anywhere else? Let's go, which is the fountain, that is the founder of Pakistan. Let's hear what he wants to say about Pakistan. In his own voice, when the Qaid of the nation says that Pakistan is Zindabad, so why would it not be Zindabad? This was the speech which the founder of the nation gave in University Stadium, Lahore, on 30th of October 1947. That was nearly exactly 73 odd years ago. I would request you to read it again, keep a memory of it in your mind and your heart, and birthday, by the way, my kids were here with me in Islamabad. In those days, family used to be in my village, and I was here as an MNA in a position. So I remember that day on the 25th of December, I bought this book, and I read it. And when I was reading that book, believe me, there were many occasions when tears came into my eyes reading the book of the mother of the nation. I don't know, how many of the parts are not there, because Pakistan has passed through different phases. People are not ready to listen to the truth and the honesty. But reading that book in this particular segment, when she refers to this particular speech of the ayat in Lahore, she says that I heard my brother, who was a man of steel, who was very emotionless in a sense that he was a person who was a very reserved person, was not used to sharing his emotions with people. But yes, after all, he was a human being. And she said that my brother, for the first time, talked about death. I want to ask those people who formulated the policies of Pakistan and the educational policies of Pakistan in the last 73 years, that why has this intellectual hypocrisy, intellectual plagiarism being done, which is an intellectual dishonesty, and I would say an intellectual Broadway robbery and Broadway dacoity, that some of the very important speeches of the founder of the nation have not been shared with the subjects of the state. Why are kids, students of Pakistan, the teeming millions and millions of Pakistanis, 3 or 4 generations have gone to the graves, not even listening to what the founder wanted? How did the founder wanted Pakistan to be? As we are saying now, 73 years later on, that Pehchan Pakistan. This is Pehchan Pakistan. On 30th October 1947, Pahcham says, I would repeat it again, that do not be overwhelmed by the enormity of the task. I think if the task was enormous way back in 1947, it's not easy still. It's still very enormous. Then he says that there are many examples in the history of young nations building themselves up by sheer determination and force of character. Do we not need that force of character now? Do we not need that determination today? I think we need it more than what we needed in 1947. Then he says that why should we also not succeed like many others, like our own forefathers? If Abdul Ghazi or Suleiman, the magnificent, or Usman can do it, why not Ali, why not Umar, why not Wahid Sharif, why not Najabat Hussain, why not Maryam, why not anybody sitting here? We can do that. Before going forward with this speech, I think for today, even if we understand the details of this speech, that is sufficient for today. But before going forward, I would like to mention one of the hadith of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In Sahih al-Jami, hadith number 7103, he says, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, that he was sitting with his companions, his Sahaba, and he said that, I want to see my brother. Now everybody knew that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam didn't have any brother. He said that I want to see my brothers. His companions, his Sahaba asked, O Prophet of Allah, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, aren't we your brothers? He said, yes. You are my companions, you are my Sahaba, but my brothers are those who have believed in me and who would believe in me without even seeing me. So we are those people. We have not seen Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam with these naked eyes, but we have seen him with our heart, the eyes of our heart, the inside of our heart. So we are not some non-blessed people. We are the people for whom he is waiting up there, but we have to do something to do justice with our creation. Now listen to this. I want to ask all the prime ministers, all the presidents, all the governors, all the chief justices of Pakistan, all those who ever manipulated Pakistan's policies with good nature. I want to ask them, why have you not told this sentence which Qaid-e-Azam said in 30th October 1947 in University Stadium Lahore, when he said that you, वो कहते हैं ना कि आप क्यों नहीं succeed कर सकते, तो आगे मुझे बताते कि you have only to develop the spirit of mujahids. Mujahid क्या होता है? सिर्फ लड़ता है मैदानी जंग में? No. When Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his worthy companions and Ahl Bayt, when they came back from Ghazwa Tabuk, so Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Medina, he said that now from jihad, and the companions asked, O Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, That was a jihad, that was a battle. What is the bigger jihad? He said jihad bin nafs. There are many forms of jihad which we can do, which you people can do, which you kids, you are the foundation of Pakistan. All of you. What can you do? I'm nobody to tell you that what can you do. Allah Ta'ala has given you iman, Allah Ta'ala has given you mind, alhamdulillah, Allah Ta'ala has given you education. Think about it yourself. How can you become a mujahid? I just want to signify that there is jihad bil lisan, the tongue, jihad bil qalam, jihad bil mal, jihad bil nafs, and then of course jihad fi sabilillah, which is the best form of jihad. And he says, you are a nation whose history is replete with people of wonderful, great character and heroism. And you can just look back, as Khalid Sahib was also saying, that we should revive our memories, our history, the history of the Muslims. We have Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi, a great man. When he was fighting Richard the Lionheart, when somebody told him that Richard is ill, so he said, I will not fight with an ill enemy, and he sent him medicine and fruits. अगर आपको वापस किया तो हमने एक हिस्ट्री रिवाइव की. लोग कहते हैं कि जब से हिस्ट्री बनी है, from the floor of the parliament, I reminded him of what my Prophet ﷺ was, what sort of a character he had. A person who killed his brother, who killed his uncle, who was his brother. They suckled milk from the same mother. When that person killed his uncle, his Hamza Raziyallahu Ta'ala, when he had victory, when everything was under his feet, and when we had victory on the day of the victory of Makkah Mukarramah, he made the house of that same Abu Sufyan as a house of peace, as a bastion of peace. He forgave that person. And he said that anybody who enters the house of Hinda and Abu Sufyan, he will also be given peace. And made him a Sahabi. And Abu Sufyan became Hazrat Abu Sufyan Raziyallahu anhu. This is our history. So you are a nation whose history is replete with people of wonderful, great character and heroism. Live up to your traditions and add to it another chapter of glory. आगे की दो छोटे से पैराज ये सुन लें. और ये मैंने तो जिंदगी में बड़े बाद में सुनी. यकीन करें मुझे अफसोस होता है कि ये भी अल्लाह का एहसान है, किसी ने बताया नहीं, बस सामने आ गए. एज में पता लग रहा है. मोस्ट ऑफ यू वुड बी इन अर्ली 20s और मिड 20s. मुझे अर्ली 40s में इसका पता लग गया. आप मेरे से 20 साल आगे हैं, कम से कम इसे एक काम है, तो फिर आपका सफर भी मेरे से तेज होना चाहिए. अच्छा ये सुने आप. लोग कहते हैं ना कि कायद ये था, वो था, सेक्युलर था, फलान था. मैं बताता हूँ कायद कौन था. Along with this, keep up your morale. Do not be afraid of death. Our religion teaches us to be always prepared for death. और फिर इसको मैं लिंक करूंगा किधर मैं आपको बताता हूँ. We should face it bravely to save the honor of Pakistan and Islam. There is no better salvation for a Muslim than the death of a martyr for a righteous cause. और क्या ये वही बात नहीं है जब हज़रत अली रज़ियल्लाहु ताला ने फरमाया था कि अगर इस जिंदगी की हकीकत मौत है तो सबसे बेहतरीन जिंदगी वही है जिसके अख्ताम शहादत पे हो. वला तक़ूलू लिमन युक़तलू फ़ी सबीलिल्लाहि अमवात बल अहयाउ वलाकिन ला तशऊरून. और मत कहो उनको जो अल्लाह की राह में मारे गए वो जिंदा हैं लेकिन तुम्हें पता नहीं. और अल्लाह की राह कौन सी है? When you say something for Pakistan and Islam, even if you don't understand it yourself, आपको नहीं पता किसने आपको अटैक किया, उसको तो पता है. When you talk about Islam, when you talk about Muslim unity, when you talk about anti-sectarianism, when we talk for Pakistan, when you talk about anti-ethnicism, anti-provincialism, when you talk about India, when you talk about the fitna of Qadianiyat, when you talk about the atrocities in Kashmir, when you talk about what is happening around the world with Muslims, and when you talk about the honor of the Prophet ﷺ and somebody who's enemy of Islam, who's enemy of the state, who's enemy of Prophet ﷺ, he attacks you, you don't even know who attacked you. He knows you. You were death of a martyr. तो वही बात की है इसमें आयत ने, अली रज़ियल्लाहु की बात है, शेर खुदा की. फिर आखिर में कहते हैं, फिर आगे अपनी बात करते हुए इसको खत्म करते हैं. मेरी बात से अहम बात कायद की थी इसलिए मैं मुनासिब समझा, क्योंकि पहचान पाकिस्तान कादर ने इसका नाम रखा है. तो फिर पहचानने के लिए, वो अपने आप को पहचानने के लिए वो क्या कहता है अलामा, खुद ही में डूब के पाजा सुरागी जिंदगी. खुदी में डूब के आजा सुराग जिंदगी, तू अगर मेरे अल्लाह की तरफ से कह रहे हैं, तू अगर मेरा नहीं बनता न बन, अपना तो बन। ये बहुत खूबसूरत अल्फाज है जी। I salute my Qaid, and wallah, I love Muhammad Ali Jinnah more than Wali Muhammad, who is my real father. I love him more. And when you study about him, when you learn about Qaid, when you learn about his sacrifices, when you learn about his character, when you learn about his real ideologies, believe me, you love him more than your father. Do your duty and have faith in God. Do your duty and have faith in God. There is no power on earth that can undo Pakistan. जो हम कहते हैं ना पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद, ये उधर से निकला। There is no power on earth that can undo Pakistan. It has come to stay. So you would have seen numerous times in Pakistan television network that they show you this. There is no power on earth which can undo Pakistan. तो ये पिछला क्यों छुपाया? क्यों नहीं बताया? जब ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह पे मुल्क बना लिया, तो फिर ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह पे चलने के लिए प्रोग्राम छुपाया क्यों? In 1942, when Pakistan was not even made, and Qaradat al-Lahore had just 2 years since it was passed on 23rd of March 1940, in India at that time, in Aligarh, I think, well, I'm not sure about that, but he addressed the students of Aligarh, addressing the Muslim Student Federation, All India Muslim Student Federation, and the students of Aligarh. Many of them were the alumni of Aligarh. And what did the Qaid say? That people ask me that you talk about Pakistan. What would be the system in Pakistan? मुझसे अक्सर पूछा जाता है 1942 कि जिस पाकिस्तान की आप बात करते हैं उसका तर्ज हुक्मरानी क्या होगा? Who am I to decide? Qaid कह रहे हैं. Who am I to decide what sort of a system, what sort of a constitution, what sort of a governance? फैसला तो आज से 1300-1400 साल पहले हो चुका है. It has been decided 1300 years ago in Quran. कुरान हमारी रहनुमाई के लिए था, क़यामत मौजूद रहेगा. बताइए नहीं की बात, तो क्यों नहीं बताई? So now is the time to dig in deep. When the child is born, most of you, inshallah, in the near future, you'll be having families and you'll have professional lives. The new members will come into your family. And then there's a time when the child is born, the father or the mother, as your father and mothers, they have dreams and aspirations for you, which sometimes they share with you, sometimes they don't. What I've seen is, in most of the families, sometimes at the breakfast table on a Sunday morning, or sometimes at the breakfast or at the supper table when you're having your dinner, family dinner, when you're sitting with your siblings, father, mother, sometimes grandmother, and you discuss many things. That is the time when the small family sees a dream while sitting there around the table. A family dream. Ali engineer बनेगा, उस्मान को डॉक्टर बनाएंगे, ये फातिमा जो है ये टीचर बनेगी, या इस तरह की बातें, इसकी शादी उधर करनी है, या वो वाला घर ले लेते हैं. These are the things that are being discussed inside a family. ट्रिप पे किधर जाएंगे? नहीं ये स्कूल अच्छा नहीं है, इसको इधर यहाँ तक पढ़ा के उसको इधर ले जाएंगे. यार सीनियर कैमरे इधर से करके ना फिर हायर एजुकेशन के लिए लंदन भेजेंगे तुम्हें. और कुछ घरों में ये भी होता है कि तुम्हें दौरे हदीस कराएंगे, वो भी हमारे माशरे का हिस्सा है. इसलिए मैं दीर कॉलोनी गया परसों संडे में गया खान की इजाजत से. खान ने मुझे कहा जाओ, उन्होंने कहा represent me in the federal government. और मैं गया. The message was very clear in Deer Colony, Peshawar on Sunday. From my side, I am nobody. I am non-entity. I was representing the federal government and the Prime Minister of Pakistan, and I told the children of their madrasa and their muallimeen that the state of Pakistan sees equally to all its subjects, all its citizens, and the government of Pakistan does not differentiate between a child of a school and a child of a madrasa. If a child of a school is APS education, you are equally से देखती है रियासत मां की जैसी होती है. मैं तो रियासत को समझता हूँ, मेरी तो ये नजर है, इसलिए मैं गया वहां. तो एक घर एक ख्वाब देखता है. हर टेबल के गिर्द रोज या महीने में या हफ्ते में एक ख्वाब देखा जाता. Then you try and fulfill that dream. बात लंबी हो जाएगी, लेकिन एक बात का हवाला देना बड़ा जरूरी है. You must read Qudratul Shahadnama, in which he when he was appearing in the CSS exam, which was used to be called ICS exam in those days, Indian Civil Service exams. In those days when the corridors of power and the government services were closed for Muslims of the Indo-Pak, maximum they would become a clerk, that's all, end of story. So in those days, doing a CS was, even today it's not an easy task, but in those days it was really a Herculean task. You must read that chapter in that book. If you don't have time to read all, just read that chapter. Inshallah, puri book aapko majboor kar degi aapko padhne ke liye. In that particular area, he's saying, remember his father, Mr. Abdullah, was a high official in Kashmir in those days, in the British Raj, and he was a learned man. Mujahid bhai baithe. So basically, वो कश्मीरी ही थे मेरे ख्याल में एक तरह से. So he says that my father Abdullah was a learned man, and he wanted me to study and do good in life through pen. So he said that I had this idea, let's do ICS, and that brings a lot of prestige not only to that family but to the whole area. Like फलाने का बेटा जो है मेरे फूफी का उसका बेटा जो है वो ICS कर लिया, वो उधर इसी लग गया जी. हिंदुस्तान की बात कर रहे हैं. So there was this place which was called Matkaf House, where they would be conducting the ICS exam in Kashmir, most probably in Srinagar. So Qudratullah Sahab narrates it in a very beautiful way. He says that I went and I entered the Matkaf House, preparing for my CSS exam, and he says that many people had come from the various nook and corners of Indo-Pak, Hindustan in those times. And some of them were like, बड़े नस्तालिक थे उर्दू में, क्या उनकी फर्क उर्दू थी. Somebody would be talking in English in Oxford accent, and somebody would be like from a very wealthy family coming in a big car. And so he says that मैंने अपने आप को देखा, मुझे अपना आप बड़ा कमतर लगा उनसे. So he tried to retract and go back from Matkaf House. That how would I succeed in front of all these learned boys and girls? I'm from a very meager family, a very humble background. I have not studied in those high class educational institutes, so I would rather fail, so it's better to go back. So he said that I retracted and was going away from Matkaf House, the examination center basically. So he said that just for a second, the vision or the face of my father, Mr. Abdullah, came into my mind, into my eyes, and he would just ask me, Qudratullah, kya karke ho, kya kiya? And when I would tell him that I have not appeared, he would not say a thing, because you learned man, जो काबिल लोग होते हैं वो ज़बान से नहीं, वो खामोशी से बात करते हैं. So he would just, वो कहते हैं कि अपनी आंखें झुका लेंगे, and he would go away and would not say anything. लेकिन उनके कंधे झुक जाएंगे. So to realize the dream of his father, Mr. Abdullah, he appeared in that ICS exam, and the world knows who Qudratullah then became. So that is a dream which he saw through the eyes of his father. So there was a dream which the whole nation saw through the eyes of Qadi Muhammad Ali Jinnah. What about that dream? Is anybody even caring about that dream? वो आदमी, आप पढ़े जसवंत सिंह की किताब, जिन्ना पढ़े आप, जसवंत सिंह की, दुश्मन नंबर 1 है पाकिस्तान का, जसवंत सिंह भी और उसका हिंदुस्तान भी. लेकिन उसमें जो हाइप की बातें हैं, और फिर इसी फातिमा जना की बुक में when she narrates that when Qadi Muhammad Ali Jinnah was breathing his last, and they decided to take him back from Ziyarat to Governor General House, Karachi, to take him back to Karachi, because Qaid wanted to be in his ancestral place, the place of his birth, in the last times of his life. So his sister narrates in her book, My Brother, that he would barely talk, he was not even able to move his lips, and he would barely move, and they would give him water with spoons. So when they decided to take him back, वो नक्शा आप जब पढ़ेंगे ना, मैंने जिस तरह उसको विजुलाइज किया, आप भी उसको कोशिश करें उसी तरह उसको पढ़ें. उसमें क्या है? Well, she's saying that when he was being brought to the Dakota, the small plane which used to carry the Governor General, so she says that the Governor General guards in Quetta gave him that guard of honor and salute for the last time in their lives at least. And she said that when I was seeing my brother from a bit of farther distance, he was being taken away in the stretcher. People were carrying him in the stretcher. There was that Governor General's guards giving him guard of honor. And she said that my brother could barely move. But when they saluted him, I saw a weak hand coming out of the stretcher, replying the salute. That was our father. So my desire is that we should try and see what sort of a dream he wanted us to dream, and that is where we want you to go forward. When Qaid was asked in 1948, probably, I think, or 1946, I don't remember the exact date, but he was being interviewed by Life magazine. तो उनसे पूछा गया कि पाकिस्तान बना रहे हैं या बन गया है, बनने वाला था या बन गया था, क्या देखते हैं इसको आगे? Simple जवाब. Quran is also very brief in its messages. The message is very replete, it is very complete, but the sentence is not long. Quran focuses on brevity. जामियत पे उसका वो लंबी बात नहीं होती कुरान में, छोटी बात लेकिन मतलब ज्यादा. तो क़ायद आज़म ने क्या कहा? क़ायद आज़म said that I perceive Pakistan to become the pivot of the world. कि दुनिया की बुनियाद बनेगी, pillar बनेगी. So basically he was forecasting that this Pakistan with sheer hard work would become a modern day giant. A modern day giant in any aspect. First of all, in humanity, in accountability, in running the affairs of the state. The state will not care you're a Muslim or you're a non-Muslim. If you're right, you will get it. As it was done in the state of Medina, when there was a case between a Muslim and a non-Muslim. And do read this occurrence too. This will tell you why Umar bin Khattab became Umar Farooq. I'll just give you a hint that when the case came before the Prophet ﷺ, and when he saw the case, he decided in favor of the Muslim, non-Muslim, because it was his right to get it. So there he decided against the Muslims in favor of the non-Muslim, because he had the right. So same should be in Pakistan. This was the dream of the Qaid. Even in the minorities, in which he is saying in this 30th October speech, people are saying the 11th August speech. Some people say that it's correct. Some people deny it. In this same speech in which he was talking about the Mujahids, the Shaheeds, the life of a Mujahid, the martyr for Islam, the message of Quran, in the same speech he is saying that we should be very careful about the rights of the minorities. The same abuse which occurred with us Muslims in the United Hindustan should not happen in Pakistan against the minorities. खोल आंख, ज़मीन देख, फलक देख, फज़ा देख, मशरिक से उभरते हुए सूरज को ज़रा देख. So when that बच्चे की मैं बात बता रहा था, is for him or her, डॉक्टर बनेगा, इंजीनियर बनेगा, then he becomes, बड़ा हो जाता है, he settles in life, and then those fathers and mothers and aunts and uncles who were dreaming for him, who were loving him or her, then they become dependent upon that person, and then they depend upon that person their well-being. वो फिर बच्चे पे बच्ची पे dependent हो जाते हैं. There was a dream which was seen through the eyes of Qaid Azam in 1947 for a Pakistan which was to become the leader in the comedy of nations, the pivot of the world, a modern-day giant intellectually, character-wise. It would become a country which would be self-sufficient in food and agriculture. It would be a country which would be exporting best of the best to the world. May that be in terms of cloth, may that be in terms of vehicles, automobiles, may that be in terms of technology, may that be in terms of weapons of war. तो इसी तरह जब वो बच्चा बड़ा हो जाता है, पहले उसका हक था कि उसका ख्याल रखा जाए, फिर उनका हक होता है कि अब वो उसका ख्याल रखे. That dream, when it was realized when Pakistan came into being, now it's the responsibility of the subjects, the citizens of this country to realize that dream. जो 70 साल पहले ख्वाब देखा था उसको रियलाइज करें. वो क्या है? ये टेक होम है यहाँ का. ये बात है. बड़ी बड़ी बातें नहीं करते. मैंने हिंदुस्तान को तबाह कर दूंगा, मैं इसराइल को तबाह कर, मस्जिद अक्सा को आजाद कर दूंगा, श्रीनगर ले लूंगा. ये करना है हमने. इसको हमने बिलीव करने के उसके लिए करना क्या है? So what is the starting step? या सब लोग सोचें आप क्या कर सकते हैं. अगर आप एक स्टूडेंट हैं तो focus on that. You're adding to this dream. If you're doing your duty, you're adding to this dream. If you're not doing your duty, you're weakening this dream and you're moving away. Now at the moment, हर घर में एक ख्वाब देखा जा रहा है. घर का अच्छे बंगला, गाड़ी, ना ये वो. Society dream नहीं देख रही, मुल्क dream नहीं देख रहा, collective dream making नहीं हो रही कि हम अपने मुल्क को कहाँ लेके जाना है. एक कौम फैसला करती है ना, जिस तरह चाइना ने फैसला किया. China decided, they saw a dream and they became a superpower, an economic giant in the world. Can't we become that giant? Socially, can't we see that dream? Even we should start it from a very minute level, from a family to a muhalla, to a union council, then to a city, and then to a province, and then the country. Like for example, we can see a dream in our muhalla. The kids, the boys or the girls, that in this muhalla, this is our dream that nobody is going to litter this muhalla. You're adding to that dream. इस मोहल्ले में कोई यतीम नहीं सोएगा रात को भूखा. This is a dream for which you all have to collectively work. यहाँ पे if there is a beva and there is nobody to take care of her, there should be some boys who should be like behaving like her real sons or real daughters, and you should try and take care of that. So this dream now becomes big as he's doing it. He's working for Pakistan, but he's also supporting these orphans and widows. So he is also adding to the dream. You're coming here, you also add to this dream. So इसलिए मेरी आखिर में आपसे यही दरखास्त है कि वल्लाह अल्लाह ताला ने आपको ऐसे नहीं पैदा किया. When Allah says in Quran that وَمَا خَلَقْنَا السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا لَاعِبِينَ, and we have not created the heavens, in fact, and I have not created the heavens and the earth just for mere play. तो हमें लाहो लाभ के लिए पैदा नहीं किया. हम फोकस करें, पढ़ें, आज क्या चाहते थे, अल्लामा की क्या सोच थी, और अपने मुल्क को हम कैसा देखना चाहते हैं. चल मुसलमान नहीं हूं और मैं सुन्नी हूं तो क्या मैं काफिर हूं? What was Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Was he Sunni or Shia? He was a Muslim. That's all. ठीक है, तुम अपने मसलक पर रहो, मैं अपने पर रहूंगा. इस्लाम के लिए इकट्ठे लड़ेंगे. जरूरत पड़ी तो मस्जिद में नमाज भी पढ़ेंगे, क्योंकि हम मोहम्मदी हैं. कुरान एक है, नबी पाक सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम एक है, मक्का एक है, मदीना एक है, आखिरत पे ईमान है, सारी चीजों पे ईमान है. थोड़ा सा इख्तिलाफ है. 90% से ज्यादा पे हमारे बीच में जो है सुन्नी शिया में कोई इख्तिलाफ नहीं है. वो 10% से कम पे इख्तिलाफ पे बात करते हैं. जो बीच में मुफाहमत है उसमें क्यों नहीं बात करते? Your enemy wants to use this fault line. Your enemy wants to use this fault line of यहाँ पे भी बात हुई, पंजाबी सिंधी की बात हुई, पंजाबी बलोच की बात हुई. यूं तो सैयद भी हो, मिर्जा भी हो, अफगान भी हो, तुम सभी कुछ हो. ये तो बताओ मुसलमान भी हो. हम पाकिस्तानी कब बनेंगे? हम क्यों चीजों में पड़े हुए? मैं सिंधी हूं, मैं बलूच हूं, किससे कौन इनकार करता है? आइन इस बात की गारंटी देता है अपनी जुबान को आप मजबूत करो, लेकिन ये सारी चीजें जो है पाकिस्तान को तो मजबूत करें. तो पहचान पाकिस्तान इज अ मैसेज to sit for a while, think about it in the isolation of your room or your study room. Question yourself, why was Pakistan created? Read about it, and then try and build a niche or a place for yourself, that where do you see yourself in that collective dream? कहाँ आपने अपने आप को फिट करना है? आप एक अच्छे इंजीनियर हैं, you adding to that dream. आप एक अच्छे डॉक्टर हैं, you adding to that dream. आप एक अच्छे सोशल वर्कर हैं, you adding to that dream. आप एक अच्छे बाप हैं, आप एक अच्छी माँ हैं, आप एक अच्छे बेटे बने, आप एक अच्छी बेटी बने. You carry the aspirations of your father, you carry the aspirations of your mother forward. आप एक अच्छे एक शहरी बने, आप एक जॉब पर रुके हैं. एक आदमी सुबह से शाम तक, when you go and drop your kids to the school, sir, when you drop them to the school, you see a police wala, a traffic wala, working there since dusk till dawn, dawn till dusk. आप जब वापस बच्चों को ले जाते हैं, वो उसी तरह खड़ा होकर अपनी ड्यूटी कर रहे होते हैं. हम अपने बच्चों को जूस पिलाते हैं, कॉलेज से स्कूल से वापस ले जाते हैं, उनके लिए कुछ लेके जाते हैं. उनके पास somebody cared कि मैं ये जो पुलिस वाला इधर चौक पे ड्यूटी कर रहा है, वापस जाते हैं इसको मैं एक चॉकलेट दे जाऊं, इसको मैं पानी की बोतल दे दूं, इसको मैं कुछ चिप्स दे जाऊं, इसको मैं ख्याल कर लूं. He would realize that these people who are moving around me, they are human beings. They consider me as part of them. I'm working for them. वो फिर रिश्वत नहीं देगा. हमने कभी इंसान समझा किसी ऐसे चो? कितने लोग हैं जो इस मोहल्ले में और इस इस्लामाबाद में रहते हैं जो ईद के दिन कभी ऐसे चो से मिलने जाते? इतना बुरा तो नहीं होता, और इतना बुरा पाकिस्तान भी नहीं. अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह इसको हम वो मुल्क बनाएंगे इंशाअल्लाह अल्लाह की मदद से कि कश्मीर तो होना ही आज़ाद है, क्योंकि मेरी शहर तो ता क़यामत किसी हाथ नहीं रह सकती. और यहाँ मैंने बात की थी ना लाल किले की, तो मैं किले की नहीं बात करता, किले मेरे छोड़ो. लाल किला पे इस्लाम का झंडा लहराने का क्या मतलब है? वो इस्लाम का झंडा था उधर. यूनियन जैक से पहले इस्लाम का झंडा था. तो मैं नरेंद्र मोदी को अक्सर असम्बली से कहता हूँ, कश्मीर को छोड़ो, अपनी फिक्र करो. और अगर हम जबरदस्ती मुसलमान करते हैं तो जबरदस्ती हिंदू बनाना चाहते हैं, जबरदस्ती मुसलमान करना चाहते हैं. In India, if the Muslim leaders and Muslim rulers had used oppression to make people Muslim Muslims, there would not have been a single Hindu in India, because 900 years are quite a lot of time. 1000 years Muslims had ruled India in one form or the other. But Islam, Quran says, La ikraha fi deen, deen में जबर नहीं. हमारे औलिया किराम की मदद से, उनकी बरकत से दीन फैला था. तो बड़ा शुक्रिया जी आपका, बड़ी मेहरबानी. पहचान पाकिस्तान की बात हुई, तो इस शेर पे ख़त्म करते हैं कि और लोगों से गिला हम करें तरीके से, लेकिन अपना एहतसाब करें. मैंने क्या किया कि शिकवा जुल्मत शख्स से तो बेहतर था अपने हिस्से की कोई शम्मा जलाते जाते. पाकिस्तान